Hello, everyone, and welcome to Risen Esports Divine Week 5. We have Black Mamba Esports versus Revenant Academy. I am Coleslaw. Joining me on the cast is Gopherino. Gopherino, how are you doing?
Pretty good. All things considered today, the weather is rather nasty outside, but thankfully inside it's, good weather for casting. However, we have started up the pick and ban here already, Cole.
Yep, and we've got Set and Syndra flying off the board. Not the most standard of bans, but they're still very powerful picks in this current meta, so nothing too surprising. You want to talk about what this match means? This is kind of an important one for Revenant Academy. They really need this win.
Yeah, since, they're 2-2 right now, which is like the really awkward stepchild part of the standings. Like, you have to win in order to make it past, but if you lose, you're basically boned out of it. Whereas Black Mamba Esports, they're 3-0, they're sitting pretty here, so this loss, it won't mean the most to them, but it might affect some things later down the road.
Yeah, and this is kind of an interesting division where we see Black Mamba as the clear top-tier team. They have not yet dropped a match, whereas Revenant Academy and SB Mirage are fighting for that second place spot. They've actually split their matches so far this season, so if Revenant Academy can pull out a win here, that will put them in prime position for second place, whereas if they can't, then it's up to a win in the final week of the season against Kettering University, or else they will be out of it.
And you kind of don't want to be putting all your marbles on a single match. However, though, we have gone through most of the bans so far here with the Set and Ezreal, the Syndra and Volibear taken off the table. Both of these teams just aiming to take off the more dominant picks in the meta currently.
Yeah, and especially you see Revenant Academy going for these very frequent blue side first picks. It's one of those things that you often want to lock in a draft when you're blind picking with that first overall pick. Syndra, excellent because it can be flexed. Volibear, the same thing, can be flexed between top and jungle. It's also just super duper powerful right now. And one clarification, we see a no ban there. That is actually an Ornn ban, so just keep that in mind. No Ornn horn or ornaments in this game.
But that will mean Aphelios does escape through the ping and ban here. He did get some light nerfs this patch overall to himself, but also his itemization and runes did take a noticeable dip. I have been seeing Aphelios still be able to put out good work, but they've been moving away from Conqueror builds more so towards press the attack and lethal tempo, so I'm going to be curious to see how Black Mamba's ADC Tygan decides to pilot this Aphelios.
And we see a very interesting hover as an answer to it. Gopherino, there are a lot of AD carries still on the table. Explain the Ashe pick to me.
So Ashe is basically up and coming in the meta. A lot of the dominant picks are kind of just getting all these light tap nerfs consistently, and people have been looking more and more towards Ashe since even though she isn't receiving any direct buffs, people are looking at her, she's getting relatively stronger, and she does bring a lot to the team in terms of utility from that AD carry role, because a lot of people have been memeing AD carry in Season 10, Omega lol, but if you pick the Ashe, you drop the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, or even use the Hawkshot, you are able to scout out the enemies, and she does also have a relatively strong laning phase to outrange the Aphelios with.
Well, after the Ashe, we're going to see a slew of relatively normal picks here. We've got the Jarvan IV locked in for Revenant Academy, and then Black Mamba answers back with a Thresh and a Wukong. Right 1-2. Nothing too exciting or extraordinary there, but powerful picks that'll just help out with really any kind of team composition.
Both these teams just kind of aiming for overall strong picks so far. Jarvan, not exactly the most meta jungler right now. He certainly is pickable, but we have been seeing more things like the Olaf, like the Graves, like the Lee Sin. So seeing it here means that I mean, Revenant Academy, they probably want to do something with this Jarvan here, whether it's like some sort of Wombo combo teamfight comp, or they're just trying to set up for really good early game ganks that has yet to be seen.
Yeah, and the rule of thumb with Jarvan is that he's a good pick when the enemy AD carry and mid laner are both immobile champions that are going to rely solely on flash to get out of a cataclysm. With no mid laner locked in, you're kind of missing out on one half of that equation, but Cataclysm will be a reliable tool to keep Aphelios penned up if he doesn't have flash, so it's not necessarily a bad pick here. In any case, we see the Bard snapped off as the last lock-in for Revenant Academy before the pinch phase. We see Olaf off the table, as you mentioned, one of these more meta junglers. Orianna banned from Black Mamba. Just a couple more bans to go before we see how these teams are going to round out their compositions.
And I mean, it looks like Revenant Academy just kind of keeping with the tradition here of the second phase, taking away another powerful jungler in that Trundle, who is a little bit of a soft counter in certain aspects to the Jarvan, since your pillar is able to stop the flag and drag. If the Jarvan goes full tank, you can just use Subjugate on him and immediately decimate him. So taking that off the table will make this Jarvan pick a lot easier to pilot.
Yep, and of course, pinching the role that you already have locked in, always the safe strategy. It makes sure that you're not accidentally denying picks from yourself in the case that the enemy locks something in. Another interesting hover here, we see a blind pick Mordekaiser. That seems a little dangerous.
It might not fully be blind pick, however, here, Cole, because that Wukong is already locked in and most likely going to the top lane. That's not to say we might not see a Wukong mid if the circumstances do call for it. We have been also seeing Senna Wukong bot recently, granted with the Aphelios and Thresh locked in. That is almost not certainly going to be the case. So just picking this Mordekaiser into the Wukong, a lot of people, they like picking the magic damage champions into the Wukong, since Wukong's passive gives him a buttload of armor, but gives him nothing in magic resist. So just getting that extra bit of damage in, really annoying for the monkey to deal with.
We see a Vel'Koz locked in for Black Mamba. I think that's going to be going mid lane. It's not an amazing pick into the Jarvan for the reasons we already went over, but that's also a denial pick from a King's Lane, who's a big Vel'Koz support player. And then they'll lock in the Gnar, which tells us this Wukong is going jungle. The Mordekaiser was, in fact, a blind pick, and now the Mordekaiser is going to find himself in a slightly rougher lane matchup.
The Gnar is, of course, able to harass out that Mordekaiser a ton early thanks to the hyper passive procs. However, though, we'll have to see how well this Wukong in the jungle works out, because it doesn't have the best clear speed from what I know, and also you don't exactly have the best ganks pre-level 6, so you're kind of more reliant on those counter ganks or just the enemy overextending way too hard. Of course, we'll have to see, because I personally haven't really seen Jungle Wukong all that much yet, so I might be wrong here, and there is a reason why Wukong is meta.
I can say, as a Jungle Wukong main of 4 or 5 seasons now, that I'd agree with that assessment. He is not the strongest pick in competitive play, because he really can't succeed on ganks if he goes over a ward. It just shuts him down. If you know he's coming, all you have to do is really walk away, and there's not a whole lot you have to fear, because all he really brings to the table is damage, and that's not going to get the job done early on, especially with lanes that don't have excellent gank setup. It's really shaky to try and rely on a Gnar with only slows or a Vel'Koz who has to land a very difficult to hit E. So I think it's interesting that they flex it to the jungle. It's not a terrible pickup, and it does give you a winning lane in top, but it's up to the execution of this kind of niche pick in Wukong jungle to see how it works out. Maybe with Vision Denial, it can succeed.
Because, I mean, Wukong pre-rework, there was a period where he was a meta jungler. A lot of it came down to the fact that his clone is able to tank up a lot of the camp's damage for him. And this was like season 3, so he'd use that, get a Spirit of the Elder Lizard, hit level 6 pretty quickly, and just go to town with that. However, much different situation now, 7 years down the road in season 10 with a rework and several reworks to the jungle. So I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye on ProDark here on this Wukong to see how he makes it work, since Black Mamba, they were the ones who wanted to flex this Wukong.
One other pick we haven't talked about, it was the Twisted Fate locked in as the last pick, counter pick to this Vel'Koz. It's an interesting lane matchup. Vel'Koz able to shove, Twisted Fate also able to shove. What do you think is going to go on in that matchup? How is it going to work for these two opposing mid laners?
So the Twisted Fate obviously gonna get a little poked out early, but likely gonna get an early Catalyst. Maybe we might see a Corrupting Potion as well, just to give him a bunch of sustain. And then, of course, once he hits level 6, he's gonna be able to shove out the wave, gonna be able to roam around. And you have to keep in mind, this Vel'Koz here for Black Mamba, Cole, is that he can try and push up and deny the Twisted Fate roams. However, if you do that, you're leaving yourself vulnerable to the Jarvan, and of course, Twisted Fate always has that gold card in his pocket, so this might be a little bit of a catch-22 situation in the mid lane here for Black Mamba's mid laner.
I think that's a really interesting call out. I think it's the risk that you take when you take a pick that's as much a pick for yourself as it is a denial. You kind of try and deny that power and comfort, but it comes with some expenses. And it does leave you a vulnerable target. A Jarvan gank is going to blow a summoner more often than not in this mid lane. And once one summoner is blown, this Vel'Koz has to play super respectful, because Twisted Fate Jarvan is an extremely potent combination. It's the kind of thing that can really shut an immobile champion like Vel'Koz down with serious reliability. And with that, you can leverage that, take some objectives, use that mid priority, the TF roams, and snowball through this early and mid game.
Because, I mean, looking over Revenant Academy's roster here, you have the Ashe, you have the Jarvan, you have the Bard, and the Twisted Fate. They all tend to dip off a little bit in the mid game. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're all fine in the late game. It's just that they want to come online early and then just abuse that early on, because the Aphelios is going to outscale, the Vel'Koz should outscale as well. Wukong should also outscale the Jarvan. It depends on how well his jungle economy is, since jungle economy can be quite a finicky thing depending on how well your ganks go.
Yep, and I think on the flip side, it's this big scaling advantage for Black Mamba if they're able to get there. But to look out at what can catch them out, there's just so much potential for someone out of position to get picked off immediately from Revenant Academy. That Ashe ultimate is super reliable on anyone who doesn't have a flash to dodge it. Twisted Fate gold card, Mordekaiser Death Realm, you've got the Tempered Fate from Bard, the Cataclysm from Jarvan. Every single one of these champions can immediately say, on a moment's notice, you're out of position, we're going to kill you now.
Yeah, as I like to call it, I like to call these kinds of comps get his ass kind of comp, because you drop an ulti on someone and then you get his ass. And it tends to work out pretty well since it is a very simple comp to execute on. But of course, like I mentioned earlier, there is always the ticking time bomb factor, where this Revenant Academy squad is going to get gradually outscaled the longer this game goes on. So they're preferably going to be wanting to end it sooner rather than later.
So that's, I think, the story of this game. Revenant Academy have the tools to play proactively. They need to look for kills early on, use all these tools at their disposal to try to generate a lead, because if they don't, the scaling advantage from Black Mamba probably going to be overwhelming. So with that said, we're going to take a brief break as we wait to catch up to the spectator delay. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Do not go anywhere. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Summoner's Rift. We have landed for Game 1 of Black Mamba Esports versus Revenant Academy. We've got a few interesting things to talk about that we learned about when we hit the champion select screen. First of which is this Bard.
There was a post in Risen General, I believe, where he said, "Oh no, I took the wrong runes. It's over." Thankfully, though, I mean, Aftershock on Bard is at least semi-usable. It's definitely not the most optimal one, since if you are going into the green tree, you do want that Guardian most of the time. I mean, Grassling Dying, maybe, but I kind of don't see it. Either way, though, I'm chalking this up mostly to a runes error more than anything, but at least when he lands that Cosmic Bind, he'll be able to get a bunch of resist and not really take all of too much damage.
Yeah, it doesn't feel as bad as when the game lets you take Aftershock because your ultimate has CC. It's happened to me once or twice on Wukong Jungle, another pick in this game, where if you don't have any hard CC, it will literally swap your rune out. But if you have hard CC on only your ultimate, then you just have a dead rune that never does anything until you ult, and then you're depressed. Whereas Bard with the Cosmic Binding, at least you can proc that sometimes. Definitely not optimal, but it's at least a thing, you know? You're not totally wasting that rune slot. Couple other choices here. We have a Conqueror of Helios.
That was a little bit of a buggaloo in the bot lane, but yeah, going back to that Conqueror on Taigen here, that was the meta pick last patch, but I do feel like it has kind of fallen off this patch a little, especially since they increased the number of stacks needed from 10 to 12. That's just 2 more procs for ranged champs to get, which it already kind of took them a little bit of time to stack it up. So I've been personally preferring to see people gear more towards the press the attacker, and maybe even in some cases the lethal tempo on that Aphelios. However, though, I mean, Conqueror is still okay-ish on him, so it's not the worst rune choice here, unlike Aftershock Bard, which is a little unfortunate.
One other thing to point out here is we have both junglers starting leashless in their blue side jungles. This is something that has been picked up a lot at the higher level of play, where bot lane no longer leashes. However, on these two particular jungle picks, I kind of have to ask the question of if that's really what you want to be doing. Neither Jarvan nor Wukong known for absolute speedy, healthy clears here.
Because, I mean, Jarvan, the reason why he can get off to a decent start in the clearing is that he will start that Demacian standard. It'll give that small little attack speed boost to all his allies leashing him, so it just gives them a few extra autos that the enemy doesn't get when leashing, which can be quite a big deal. Obviously, not going to apply this game here, Cole, since both of them did start leashless. They do seem to be doing okay-ish, but Oricra, it's probably going to affect him a little bit for the timing of his ganks.
Yep, the one fortunate thing is we do see the Jarvan in the river getting that first crab. Pro Dark cleared from top to bottom, so he is not going to be able to pick that up. It's going to be a slight early game advantage here for the Jarvan. Looks like a gank coming down as well, though that's not going to result in a whole lot. Pro Dark actually going to fight too. Just some trading. Tathalis low, but they're not going to go in on that. It's a little too far away. It'd be too much of an overcommittal, so just some trading in the mid lane, a counter gank to take a couple favorable bits of damage.
Tathalis, though, on this TF is going to have to take the Cheater's recall. Does look like the Plasma Fission from Likeable did stop the recall if we look at his health bar. Very, very darn low right now. Oh, I don't like this Orcra, like, a little too cocky coming out from this Jarvan right now. Almost dies to that Vel'Koz and the chickens, and you don't want to give up first blood by invading for just a single camp.
Yeah, and you saw that a Kingsland actually walked up to try and support on that. It's a risky play when you're low and in the enemy jungle. Your mid laner doesn't quite have all of the priority necessary to defend you as well, so it fortunately doesn't result in much. I think we see Oracra giving up on the camp, so not the end of the world, but not much of an advantage either. It's a bit of time wasted and a good punish from Likeable to make sure that that camp does not get fully taken away.
And it will set Oricra behind a tad bit on this Jarvan, sadly. Although, granted, it is still a little fairly early into the game. Like, it's only like a camp and a half difference between these two junglers right now. I can't remember if camps give 4 CS or 3 CS when you clear them.
It's 4.
It's 4? That's what I thought. Yeah, I just wanted to be sure. Either way, though, I mean, still, Oricra, he did try and make an early gank happen, but sadly did not quite pan out and was not even able to get the flash out of Likeable, which is a little unfortunate to say the least.
Yeah, you do want to be blowing that Vel'Koz flash. It's what we pointed out is probably the most crucial summoner spell in this game for the first 10 or 15 minutes, because without it, Likeable is a sitting duck. With it, Likeable can safely get away from most danger and not have to fear that much. So with that gank not working out, we see mid lane pretty much tied up, top lane relatively close, jungle now even after a reset for Prodark. Just relatively standard farming so far.
And technically, this is going to favor Black Mamba in the long run. Granted, of course, we're only like almost 6 minutes into the game, so it's so hard to call anything right now. The dragon is being started up. Prodark is going to spot out a King's Land. I don't know if they know that this dragon is taken, but with these 2.5 members that are currently hovering around the dragon, this should be a fairly easy first pickup here for the side of Revenant Academy.
Yep, you have to ask the question, if Prodark spots out this Bard way up towards mid lane, why are Lil Muzi and Tegan not going in and playing aggressively into this Ashe? If you know she's alone, I think that means that you have an opportunity to at least fish for hooks, maybe deny some experience. Instead, it's just going to be a free dragon given over to Revenant Academy, and now we see the Death Realm going down onto Kino. That is first blood, just a solo kill. Kino stepping up too far. Now we've got action down in the bot lane. Both junglers here, Oraka going in. We see the Twisted Fate gating in as well. Prodark going very low, but he has not fallen yet. A Cosmic Binding lands, Lunar Lynx flashes, and Kingsland finally gets the last hit with an auto attack. Now he's deep in enemy territory. It's Lil Muzi chasing him down, waiting for the death sentence. It does connect, and that means a kill's going to go over to Tegan. A 1-for-1 at the end of the day.
But, I mean...
Orca now in danger. Likeable. Gonna connect the E and auto attack. And there's the kill. Just chasing down that Jarvan, choosing to hold. Oh no, the Death Laser not available, but going to secure that kill as well. And now Kino fighting in the top lane, not able to connect with any of those key abilities, so nothing going down there.
So fun fact is that we saw Taythalis, he channeled the Destiny there. However, he was not able to fully commit on it since Likeable did stop that port and got him very low on this Twisted Fate, which is what ultimately helped them save a lot of that bot lane play there and even make it work out to their advantage in the end. Here comes Prodark.
Yep, and Silver Shakes is in trouble. No Death Realm available. Prodark still not 6, though. So there's no Cyclone to knock this Mordekaiser up. You see him doing a lot of damage, but it's not enough. The Wukong healthy to make sure that that Mordekaiser goes down. And that's another kill going over to the side of Black Mamba. Yep, and Lil Muzi going on for Taythalis. A King's Land is here. Orca not far behind. The knockup connects to kind of diffuse the situation. A good back off from Black Mamba Esports. They realized they did not want that fight and got out of there.
Props to them, though, for kind of recognizing that. Of course, also props to Taythalis for just, with the quick reactions on the TF to get that instant gold card down and recognize, maybe I don't want to mess with this. I have a gold card, let me just back on out. However, though, with all that being said, it is just going to reset here to more or less a very neutral stance on the map with nothing really to grab outside of that Rift Herald for now.
Yep, Dragon's still on its timer from when Revenant Academy took it, so it's lots of fighting, a few kills going down, and, you know, you say, all right, we got some money reset by, and okay, back to normal. No one going for the Rift Herald, a little interesting. You would expect with Dragon down to see something like a lane swap into the top lane to generate some priority for that, but maybe a little too risky. Maybe it's going to be a bit of an overcommittal when you're comfortable with how top lane's been going if you're the side of Revenant Academy, so they're just going to chill.
And I mean, you don't really want to give up this top lane here because you're already winning it decently hard. Sure, it's not the hugest CS gap right now, but you have to keep in mind here is that Silver Shakes, he's sitting on the Tab Eyes and also the Fiendish Codex, which is pretty powerful, at least one-on-one in this matchup, because it gives him a nice chunk of AP at home.
Okay, Dallas is in trouble. Oh, not going to get knocked up, and that's going to keep him alive. Now Orca going back onto Likeable, going to walk away. A Kingsland is in the mid lane. Our camera's going to take us down to bot lane where Lunar Lynx is very dead, and we didn't see what happened mid lane, but Likeable somehow alive after getting ganked by 3 people. Looks like he blew the cleanse and flash to get out of there, so it's a kill going down in the bot lane for Black Mamba, and nothing going down in the mid lane despite the huge committal to try and take down that Vel'Koz, and now Plate's falling.
Ooh, the flash out from Tegan, respecting that cosmic binding. But yeah, that is the punishment we wanted to see earlier onto Lunar Lynx from Little Muzi and from Tegan in this bot lane. It's like, if that Bard is up in that mid lane, like, just commit the ulti. We saw Tegan drop the Moonlight Vigil into the snare, into an easy hook, into a very dead Ashe. So Lunar Lynx has to play much more respectful when he doesn't have his support around.
Yeah, and this is the kind of roaming from a Kingsland that you would expect with an Ezreal AD carry. But an Ashe is just so vulnerable, and with that massive threat radius of an Aphelios who has that root available, it's so hard to stay there if you're an Ashe. Because as soon as one ability connects, you're just dead. And the fact that ProDark was there, it doesn't even really matter that much. The kill's going to go down anyway. And so it's going to buy some more plates, and now it's going to look towards Dragon for Black Mamba.
And that does mean, oh, here comes the gang.
Yeah, Oricra looking for Likeable again. They did blow the Summoners, so they're going to try it, but Lil Muzi is here. The Death Sentence whiffs. Nothing going to go down from that. Kingsland putting on the fancy feet with all of these jukes, but it does mean that there's pressure on this Dragon for Black Mamba. It has spawned, and they're going to look to keep poking Revenant Academy out so that they can take it.
Keep in mind, though, neither of these top laners have teleport, and one important other note going on into this Dragon fight is that Tegan, he's able to complete the Infinity Edge on that back compared to just a Cutlass and a Dagger coming out of Lunar Lynx, which is going to be a pretty massive differential if we do see a full-on 4v4 fight around that Dragon. However, it looks like Revenant Academy is just seceding it over to Black Mamba Esports.
Yep, and ProDark just going to solo that out real quick. No big deal. A Wukong can take a Dragon relatively easily when you have the vision denied and priority in the middle lane. Nothing to really worry about there. However, Silver Shakes needs to be worried because Kino is going in and going right back out. Decided didn't want that trade after eating that fat damage, so not going to go for the Gnar, just going to back off. Got excited for nothing. Herald also going down, by the way. Likeable getting hit up by the Tempered Fate. Tathalis is there with the gold card, the knockup from the Jarvan, and that is a dead Vel'Koz. A good punish from the side of Revenant Academy. Likeable looked like he was never going to go down. They finally find the pick, they get the Herald, they're dropping it immediately. And with no one there to clear the wave, this could be a big deal for Revenant Academy. They're going to get several plates off of this play.
They should at the very least get 4 here, but here comes ProDark.
He's going for the Cyclone. I don't think he's going to succeed in the 1v3. It's a noble effort, but going down quite low just from that trade, getting some chip damage onto Oricra, going to deny the Herald from taking the entire turret, so you can call worth if you are ProDark. And Lunar Lynx, whoa, getting solo, having to burn the flash and heal. In the top lane, we have a Death Realm. It's just fighting all over the map. Kino thinking about going in, but Silver Shakes a little too tanky, a little too much healing. Lots of trading and ultimates getting blown. I said Death Realm. There was no Death Realm. Why did I think there was a Death Realm, Phil Perino?
There might be one pretty soon here. The Mega Gnar's charging up.
Yep, and there's the Death Realm finally. Kino hopping in, going to jump over the Mordekaiser. We've got a Death Sentence connecting onto Lunar Lynx in the bot lane. Tegan going to secure that kill. Oricra now here with the Cataclysm. Tegan stuck under turret, tanking it up in the top lane. Kino having to back away with almost no health, so it's just one kill going over. Too much aggression from the side of Black Mamba. Lil Muzi probably happy to get out of there with his life.
Still, though, I mean, trade for one. This will ultimately favor Black Mamba Esports in the long run here, Cole, because keep in mind, we did kind of mention a lot in the champions like that they do have that scaling factor here. And with 2 of those kills already onto the Aphelios, who's already looking this strong, that's going to be a bit of a spooky thing to deal with once we come to the later stages of the mid game.
Yeah, and when you're able to trade the kill, where you get the kill on your AD carry, onto the enemy AD carry, so that you're getting the gold, and they're being denied the opportunity to farm, and instead it's the Jarvan picking up the kill, you're very happy. So, though it was some aggression that could have gotten punished a little more, that eventual trade of 1-for-1, not all that bad in the slightest.
At least if you're Black Mamba.
Yes.
Still,
not
though,
the
I
thing
mean,
you want to give up if you're Revenant Academy, for sure.
It's been pretty calm across the map for at least ever since that past gank. Wonder what we're going to see here, because Oricra hanging around the edge.
Likeable with the sixth sense detecting that Jarvan and spotting him out. Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty good, especially considering he did it in the bush right by the Raptors, which is usually not where people hang out. Oh, we might see a little bit of a fight here.
Nope. Kingsland just going to Magical Journey out of there. Pro Dark and Lil Muzi fishing a little bit, but they're not going to be able to secure that Bard. He is quite slippery and just going to get the heck out of there.
That is one of the pros about Bard, especially this Bard who has the Nike Airs completed, working towards that Athene. So gonna have a bunch of CDR, gonna have a bunch of move speed, and I wouldn't be surprised if a Kingsland gets a bit tankier later on, especially with this Aftershock. He might be a little bit more incentivized to itemize at least some resistances to synergize with it.
Here comes Pro Dark onto Tathalis, going to get hit up by the Cyclone. The Plasma Fission does connect as well. Tathalis going to get the kill. Lil Muzi Hex flashes over the wall, secures the death sentence onto Lunar Lynx. The Tempered Fate comes down to deny the Ash ultimate. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow not going to connect. That means that Lunar Lynx goes down. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Silver Shakes dropping the Death Realm underneath the turret, going to get the successful dive kill. Kino should have recalled maybe 2 minutes ago, had the teleport available, just greeted in lane, goes down. So it's a trade of kills on the map, but going to favor Black Mamba as they get a 2-for-1 overall.
And a really scary 2-for-1 when you look at it, because now there's 3 kills on the Wukong, 3 kills on this Aphelios, who are both going to be scaling up. Although obviously Pro Dark, since he did go for the Cinderhulk this game instead of the Warrior, it does mean he is going to be doing a lot less damage. Granted though, I mean, with Conquer and just kind of how strong Wukong is right now, he is still able to kill off the backline fairly easily with just these items, and it does look like he is going towards a damage item now. Lycol in a bit of danger here.
Yep, a Kingsland showing up, but Tathalis backed off so far. There was never going to be the threat of a kill. Lil Muzi, though, going to Hex Slash over the wall. Tathalis is out of position, going to have to flash out of there to get the safety. So it's a play that a Kingsland started, but it ends up being Tathalis that has to flash away.
Unfortunate with this Infernal Dragon already on the Rift here. It looks like it's going to be another one going over the side of Black Mamba Esports. What with Oricra just already heading towards the top side jungle, he's given up on this. That's going to put 2 dragons now for the side of Black Mamba Esports, and they're looking pretty fine, at least in terms of objectives for now.
Yeah, and I think if you're Revenant Academy, you're very happy with that earlier Mountain Drake that you were able to take. We have a Nars knocking Silver Shakes under the turret, tanking up the aggro because of Kino's damage, and that's a solo kill. Silver Shakes just stepping up a little too disrespectfully, and in the mid lane, the Comet going to secure the kill onto Tathalis. The Luden's poke plus the Comet just providing that little extra oomph that's going to get that poked out kill for free. A death sentence connects onto Oricra. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow goes wide. Tegan just gonna solo kill the Ash. You see a Kingsland and Oricra flashing away. They're going to get out of there. So it's 2 more kills going over to Black Mamba here.
And it just feels like Revenant Academy, they're trying so much here, but they just aren't able to make anything work here. It's as if Black Mamba Esports is just one step ahead of them every time, which isn't really going to be the best when you are trying to win this early to mid game here on this Revenant Academy squad.
Yep, and now it's starting to get a little out of hand. We see, you know, a 3.5k gold lead, which in its own right isn't the kind of thing that makes you think the game is over, but when you're scaling so much harder, it's not a huge lead in gold, but it's a huge lead in game state. It may as well be a 7k gold lead. And now with Pro Dark going in onto a Kingsland, the Magical Journey out, Tathalis chasing down with Silver Shakes and the Death Realm. Lil Muzi getting very low, not going down. Instead, it's Oricra that dies with Tegan there to provide the damage. Silver Shakes getting low, a Kingsland low, Pro Dark low, everyone's low, only 1 kill. Tathalis now picked out, getting slowed up by that Gnar Boomerang, and that's going to be another kill. Now Likeable looking for Lunar Lynx, biting off more than he can chew because that is a Mordekaiser right there, but a fantastic death sentence gets him out of there. Kino now chasing down Lunar Lynx, but with a Cosmic Binding, he's not going to be able to find anything. It's just 2 kills.
But the state of the game here, if you are Revenant Academy, just keeps getting worse and worse. Like, who's winning their respective lane right now? It's not top, that's even. It's not jungle, that's behind. It's definitely not mid or bot right now, so there's nothing Revenant Academy really have going in their favor right now, aside from that one early dragon they nabbed and that early Rift Herald they're able to snag.
Yeah, and we see in that fight, all their damage getting focused onto this Wukong and this Thresh. The 2 tankiest people on Black Mamba, so not able to get the kill, and with Tegan relatively unthreatened in that entire fight. That's a very fed Aphelios, so you can just auto-attack for free, and when that happens, fights are always going to go Black Mamba's way.
Yeah, you're already at the 2-item spike as Aphelios, which is really deadly. Obviously, he prefers more items and does spike pretty hard with those, but generally speaking, Aphelios, once he hits 2 items, that's once he starts getting super scary. And if our lovely observer tabs over to the gold real quick, we can see that there's almost a 4k gold differential between these two 80 carries, which is nearly the entirety of the gold lead right now. Just all those kills, all that CS, and all that global objective money really funneling into Aphelios and making for a deadly member.
Tathalis in trouble. Kino does have that chase potential with the Hyper. Going to try to port out of there, and it's going to succeed. The gate getting Tathalis to safety. It's a cheeky little play. Only possible when the Gnar is mini, but going to save his life there.
Still, though, I mean, you kind of don't want to be using the gate like that to run away while you're trying to push out a top outer, as the Rift Herald's going to be dropped in this mid lane and help them take this mid-inner turret. Granted, though,
no.
That was just that missed time.
Oh no.
You would hate to see it.
The idea there, for anyone curious, is that if you Tempered Fate a turret as the Rift Herald charges it, it will deny the Rift Herald bonk damage, which is huge, and just completely shut it down. The issue there, Kingsland goes for it a split second too early. The damage comes through anyway, and the mid-inner is going to fall to that Herald. Now it's a chase down onto Kino, but that's never going to work. These Enchanted Crystal arrows, have we seen one connect so far this game?
Maybe. All the ones I can think of right now have missed, but I want to say at least one has landed.
I'm sure 1 or 2 have connected. They've just been inconsequential. It seems like every time one gets thrown out, we see it going wide or getting denied, and that's a problem, you know? This is a big playmaking tool that Revenant Academy have. When you're behind, you need to cherish those and absolutely maximize every playmaking window you have. When you're fishing out for these really low percentage ults onto the Gnar, split pushing the top lane, looks like desperation to me a little bit.
Kind of. I mean, when you look at the current gold differential between these two teams and you realize that Revenant's Academy is kind of in the pot right now, going for those Hail Mary ultis is certainly fine, like, if you are able to make them work out. Certainly, though, I do feel like there might be slightly better targets than Kino on that Gnar, who has a buttload of move speed and is constantly just running around. But, I don't know, like, Revenant's Academy, they need to make something happen, and Lunar Lynx, he's certainly trying that.
Yep, Silver Shake's trying to get this turret, going to go in. It's a big 3-man dive. Kino going to flash away to try to get this Mordekaiser. It's going to be the flash from Tathalis with the gold card. Kino finally going to go down. It costs a gate, a couple summoners, and some key ultimates, but they do end up getting the kill. And with that turret as low as it is, they will get the turret, so they need to make something happen, and they do. It's a big commitment, but with no answer from Black Mamba, more of that is exactly what Revenant Academy is looking to do here.
Because at first when I saw that play, I was like, oh no, like, Black Mamba, they can just, like, run down mid here, maybe try and pressure that or try and pressure somewhere else. But that doesn't look like they were able to do any sort of pressure across the map. So even though it does cost them that 2 ultis, those 2 flashes, and a lot of time, I mean, it's still a free kill when you're behind, and you will be taking those if you are Revenant's Academy.
Yeah, it's just the kind of thing that you need more of. If you can get a kill and you don't have to trade anything for it, you're perfectly happy shrinking that gold lead back down. It shows that these tools of the gold card, of the gate, of this Jarvan Cataclysm, they can come in handy here and there. They just need to be coordinated, and they need to be at the right time and in the right window. They catch Black Mamba sleeping, going back to base, but now that Black Mamba's back on the map, Kino is pushing top lane again. It looks like we're going to have a bit of a poke fest here. This terrifyingly strong Vel'Koz is just laying down the herd.
That's what happens once a Vel'Koz does kind of just settle into his groove of, I have my Ludens, I have my flat 33 Magic Pen, now working towards my Rabadons. He's just going to be able to walk up, press the Q, walk away, walk up, press the Q, walk away. Basically, it's just going to be free poke city coming out of Likeable unless we see Revenants decide to engage on this Vel'Koz here while he's trying out this poke. And they've tried it so far this game at least a few times, but hasn't really been working out.
Yep, and it looks like it's a bit of a 1-1-3. Revenant Academy are going to need to do something here as they slowly get starved out from a push in all 3 lanes. They're getting chipped more and more. I think you got to make a play at some point, because it's just farm denial here. You've got the Wukong sitting inside their jungle, taking all of their camps. You got waves being shoved in through all lanes. Top lane not actually going in the favor of Black Mamba here. Kino getting shoved out by this Mordekaiser. Silver Shake's really the 1-win condition, but it looks like they're fishing for a dive now.
Well, if you have a Wukong, it's certainly pretty darn easy to go for dives here, Cole. Because, I mean, that armor is a hell of a drug when you're tanking up a turret. Not to mention, he has a Cinder Hulk, he has a Cleaver, so a buttload of health. And then, of course, knocking up everyone means they aren't exactly DPSing you, so you're kind of getting a lot of free tankiness, quote-unquote, there. But doesn't look like the dive is going to happen here, since it was spotted out by that Demacian standard.
Yep, so we're just chilling, you know? There's a Dragon Soul, Infernal Soul, spawning in a minute and a half for the side of Black Mamba. I think they're content to say, you know what, we'll chill for that. That's a win condition if you've ever seen one. However, Kino getting himself in trouble again. Silver Shake's going to try to find a kill with the Death Realm, but some clever hops onto the Blast Cone from Kino, going to time that ability out with no flash from the Mordekaiser. Easy escape, safe dodge from Kino, and really well played by the Gnar, honestly.
For sure, because this Gnar is definitely really behind. Well, I won't say really behind, because if we do take a peek at the gold here, 1,300 gold difference, it's definitely noticeable, but it's not the end of the world. It's not like the differential between the two AD carries we saw earlier. I mean, Lunar Link still hasn't finished a second item here, whereas Taijin, he's going towards his third item currently.
Yeah, a QSS is very crucial here. It's going to get you out of a lot of different things, whether it be a gold card, an enchanted crystal arrow, a death realm, a cosmic binding. That is an extraordinarily valuable item. It's going to provide tons of utility here. Probably the best pickup that Taken could have gone for. And now with Infernal Drake spawning in 30 seconds, it looks like all eyes are going to be on that. It's really do or die here for the side of Revenant Academy. They cannot afford to give this up. They need to get into that river right now and try and find some kills.
Well, they certainly are getting into the river right now. They're trying to establish some vision control. The Hawkshot definitely helps. However, Black Mamba, they're already here. They're already clearing out some control wards. Already just checking around the pit for some more wards. So Black Mamba just one step ahead yet again.
Yep, they have the position. Silver Shake still in the top lane, does have teleport available. Taethal is pushing out mid, does have the gate available. But it is Black Mamba that are on this dragon. It's already going down. We see the Destiny coming out from Twisted Fate, but where is Revenant Academy? The Infernal Soul goes down. The engage is onto Oricra. The Gnar hits up 2. The Jarvan already dead. No one's going low for the side of Black Mamba, and that's an amazing Cyclone. And it's going to be every single member of Revenant Academy going down. Silver Shakes picks up 1 kill in the Death Realm, but it is a consolation prize. That's an amazing Wombo combo. Pro Dark and Likeable just putting out so much damage, taking full health after that fight, and they get a complete wipe, pick up the soul, and now they can look to Baron with a 5-for-1 ace.
And Revenant Academy's indecisiveness there ultimately cost them the fight. We saw that they were kind of wanting to go in, kind of not wanting to go in, but by the time they do finally go in, Cole, it's already too late. That dragon is gone. The Temper Fate misses basically everything, and then your front line gets decimated. Lunar Lix gets caught out by a beautiful Gnar ultimate, just absolutely decimated. And at that point, it's like, what can you do here as Revenant Academy? Like, you're down the Soul, you're now down the Baron buff, and it's not like you have any real winning lanes right now, so I feel like this is just going to be a slow burn into death here for the side of Revenant Academy, unless they're able to pull out some miracle play of sorts.
Yeah, we saw the Mordekaiser kind of acting as this pipe dream win condition. Silver Shakes was getting the best of Kino in that split push, but when the Infernal Soul goes down, that's going to change that dynamic a whole lot. The Gnar are going to be able to lay down some serious damage. Looks like a pick onto Likeable might be in the cards. Oricra and Kingsland looking for it. They're not going to find anything other than the Flag and Drag. An arrow goes wide, a death sentence goes wide. Likeable getting fished in by the Mordekaiser. Lil Muzi also going down, but Likeable pumping out so much damage with that laser. And now Pro Dark looking for the engage. Going to Cyclone a little too late. Doesn't find Oricra, but he's still in there, firing off a second Cyclone. Silver Shakes has the Death Realm down onto this Wukong, but he is not going to win that fight. Pro Dark survives it, and now Black Mamba have a 1-member advantage and a Baron.
And Revenant Academy, they tried throwing the last that they had there into that fight. However, it falls really flat. Sure, they only lose one member, though, but you have to keep in mind how much they committed there. Literally, just going to one ability and 2 autos out of Tai Gen on this Fed AF Aphelios right now.
Yeah, this is unwinnable at this point, Go for Reno. I don't think it really needs any sophisticated breakdown. You can just look at the damage that these champions are pumping out. Tegan and Likeable, anytime they connect with anything, it's doing just massive swaths of health. And, I mean, they crack the base, they take the inhibitor, they're going to back off, reset, and they can just keep going. They've got the soul, they've got nothing to worry about. They're going to win any fight they take here at this point.
Basically, yeah, I mean, I don't know what else we can really say about this game right now, Cole, because we kind of just summed it up. This is most likely going to be a bit of a slow burn into the end. With how far Revenant's Academy is down right now, almost 10,000 gold differential. That's not even including the invisible gold bonuses from this Triple Infernal, from this extra Cloud Dragon. So, I don't know. Like, Revenant's Academy, they're going to need a little bit of a miracle fight here.
We see a Tempered Fate connect onto Tegan. The arrow misses, but it hits Likeable. Death Sentence gets Tegan out of there. We see a Twisted Fate porting into the backline to kill off Likeable, but it's just disaster on the front of the fight. Prodark doing so much damage. An amazing 3-man Gnar going to hit up Silver Shakes and Oricra, and that's going to kill them both. It's only a Kingsland left alive, and with a Death Sentence connected, that's going to be it. And that should be game. Black Mamba, they don't need their carries. You have Kino, and with an amazing Gnar to clean that fight up. The Nexus turrets are falling. The Nexus will fall not long after. And that is a convincing, commanding game one taken by Black Mamba Esports.
Good lord. And they had the scaling comp too, so they were technically on the back foot for the early part of the game. However, they were able to slowly claw out a lead for themselves and gradually make it that much more of a potent threat until we kind of see what happens in the end there, Cole, where sure, that was a winning team fight initially for Revenant's Academy. However, once that Gnar ultimate landed, it was basically over.
Yeah, and that was a beautiful way to turn around the fight. It was a bit of an overstay from Black Mamba, if you could call it that, with Likeable very low and Tegan having not based in a very long time. They weren't quite topped off on health or mana, and you saw Tathalis gets in there, is able to pick off the Vel'Koz, an arrow hits him, and it's just followed up really easily like that. You're thinking, okay, maybe this is going to work. And then Kino, slams the door shut and says, nope, not going to happen. We're going to take this game. We've got an Infernal Soul. We don't even need our carries to do damage. That's going to do all the work we need. And with Lil Muzi and Prodark alive to help out on cleaning that up, they win the fight, they win the game, and now it's up to Revenant Academy to bounce back, change things up, hopefully take the correct runes, and see if they can swing this series a different way. In any case, that'll be the end of this game. However, we do have a second game coming right up soon enough. This is a best of 3, so we'll be back in a few moments. Don't go anywhere. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Game 2 of Revenant Academy versus Black Mamba Esports. Game 1, we saw Black Mamba take a commanding victory, pick up an Infernal Soul, and just basically run the game over. So it's up to Revenant to adapt here, change things up, find a different way to try to play the game, because what we saw last game was not an amazing look. Go, Farino. What are your thoughts?
Don't lose.
You hate to hear the as the answer to that question.
I mean, they just kind of got outplayed all across the map, I feel. A lot of it did stem from the bot lane, I feel. That, maybe that Lunar Licks as that Ashe, maybe just kind of eating up a few too many hooks there. However, though, Lunar Licks going to be going back to the mid lane this game, as Podrick has come back to fill in as the starting AD carry once again here for the Revenant's roster.
Yep. So bans are coming in. We see Syndra and Wukong off the table for Revenant Academy. Aphelios and Ezreal coming from Black Mamba. They're not going to make the mistake of giving the Aphelios over. We saw what it could do last game, and it was terrifying. And they do not want to play against it as a first pick from Revenant Academy, and it's hard to blame them because that champion is still very good.
I wonder if we're going to see the Varus sneak through here. However, though, Cole, because Varus has just been such a dominant ban for these past couple of months, it is going to instead be the set here. So I'm curious if Revenant are going to try and first pick the Varus here, since Varus is just such a potent pick right now, or if they're going to drop back to something else, maybe.
Yeah, Varus would be the pick in this situation. With Syndra banned, Set banned, Wukong banned, Volibear on the table, the other possible thing you could consider. Looks like they're going to hover it here. Not necessarily a bad pickup, but it does mean that Black Mamba are going to be gifted Varus if they want it.
But, I mean, the Volibear is also a really good early lock-in, too, since that is just such a potent flex pick. It's a tier 1 top laner, tier 1 jungler, so just throw it wherever you want here for this Revenant side. The Trundle, though, is going to be the answer here from Black Mamba. That was banned away last game in the second phase, so this time around, just not wanting their junglers to be banned out, it would seem here.
Yep, and they're going to lock in the Thresh to accompany that, so we don't care about Varus Go for Reno. Let's forget that pick. We want Trundle and Thresh. Thresh was a really powerful pick last game. It worked out amazingly to punish the Revenant Academy's bot lane. We saw so many death sentences connecting from Lil Muzi that finished and secured kills. So they're saying, you know, AD carry doesn't even matter. We've got this hook champion. If you want to pick Varus, then we're going to kill that pick because it's immobile, and we've shown that we know how to punish that.
But the Lulu is a good answer into the Thresh for a lot of situations. If that Lulu does not get hooked, you can very easily just polymorph the Thresh or the enemy AD carry. There is, of course, the Overgrowth with that ultimate, just able to give your AD carry that much more health to have with the shields too, the movement speed haste, and it can be very pesky to get through this Lulu if you are a Thresh. Because if you follow in on that the death sentence here, Cole, you're going to be eating a polymorph.
Yep, so it's an interesting counterpick to the Thresh. It does have that disengage potential to answer it. It's going to be paired with, of all things, a Kai'Sa.
I mean, Kai'Sa is a hyper carry. Lulu does always pair well with hyper carries, but picking a Kai'Sa blind is very cocky here, I feel, from the Revenant side, since Kai'Sa usually saved more so after you get more of an idea of the enemy bot lane. Of course, the Thresh, you do already know that, but you don't know the enemy AD carrying. There are a lot of things that can shut down this Kai'Sa in lane. Like, we were talking about the Varus earlier. If that does slip through here, maybe Black Mamba just picks that up, and then with Lethality, Varus, and the Thresh, they're just able to completely bulldoze over this Revenant's bot lane. There are, of course, other options too, like Lucian, if they do want to pick that. Draven. Basically, super lane dominant ADCs that can just roll over the Kai'Sa in the early game usually tend to be your best answers.
Well, instead of locking in anything like that, they're going to say that they value the Vel'Koz more. It's not even in denial this time. It just worked so well for Likeable last game that they're going to run it back, and it's hard to blame them with how much damage that Vel'Koz pumped out. It was a menace on the Rift last game, so they're going to see if they can repeat that performance. And with Varus slipping through the bans, Revenant immediately snapped that away. Black Mamba going to ban away Cassiopeia and Orianna. They have their mid laner, so they'll deny a couple from Revenant Academy. And now it's just one more ban to go.
And I'm curious what Revenant is going to respond with in the mid lane here. If they do want to, they can't... Or wait, no, never mind. Black Mamba have the first pick here. I was about to say, if Revenant wanted to, they can just nab their mid laner. He then keeps his Volibear in the dark. However, though, his Volibear is still technically in the dark. You don't know if it's jungle. You don't know if it is top lane. And there is actually the Lucian coming in here for Black Mamba that might be flexed to the top lane, as we have seen it primarily as a gangplank counter. But Lucian Thresh can be a very nasty combo in the bot lane.
Yep, Lucian is that counter pick to Kai'Sa that you called out, with Caitlyn and Varus banned. X-Podrick going to be... Oh, this is not X-Podrick. This is Black Mamba picking it. Rainfart. We swap sides go for Reno. That's a thing that happens in a League of Legends series, is that the teams go to different sides.
By the way.
So, the Lucian's going to be the answer to the Kai'Sa. It's a good lane-dominant counter pick. It does have the lane power. And so, Revenant Academy going to go ahead and pick up this Nocturne, and they're hovering the Galio for what kind of turns into a bit of a globals or semi-globals comp here. Galio and Nocturne able to join any party wherever it may be. That's going to provide power if they get set behind in bottom lane, because both of these champions going to want to fly down there basically as often as possible.
Thing is, though, it's like you kind of look at this composition that Revenant have drafted up here. They are so hard relying on this Kai'Sa here for Podrick to carry. Like, you have the Galio, you have the Volibear, you have the Lulu, all fairly good or excellent peelers for AD carries. Not to mention the Paranoia from this Nocturne. They can do a lot, but if this Kai'Sa is put behind in lane, as we can see the Lucian Thresh have been locked in, then I feel like this Revenant draft is going to fall apart.
Yeah, and the thing is, the last pick here is a Fiddlesticks. Go for it. What's going on here? Because I see, depending, like the Fiddlesticks, I know it goes jungle, and I know it goes mid lane, but I see a jungler in Trundle, and I see a mid laner in Vel'Koz.
So it could be top lane Fiddlesticks. I have seen it a few times into specific matchups. It's not as prevalent as the mid lane Fiddlesticks. However, it does play fairly the same. You tend to build full tank. But of course, we might even just see that Trundle flex to the top lane, since he is still able to go up there just fine. People tend to value more in the jungle, since a roaming pillar is very powerful. Still, though, I'm just kind of curious to see where all these picks go here for the Black Mamba squad. Basically, mostly the Fiddlesticks and Trundle, since there is a little bit of question marks in my brain as to where everything's going as of now. But it will be confirmed here, actually. It's going to be the top lane Fiddle.
Yeah, so I've not seen top lane Fiddle. It's an idea. I think we'll likely see the tank Fiddlesticks, where he's going to go for a lot of armor and maybe pick up a Leandries at some point. This must be a pocket counterpick to the Volibear, because I don't think this is something you pull out unless you practice that exact matchup at least a couple times. It's an interesting adaptation. I'm not sure how to feel about it overall, but I mean, why not?
It's definitely a pick, especially into this Volibear, where you are just able to use the fear, able to use the silence very effectively on him to deny any sort of engage coming out from this Volibear. And once you start building up some resistances on this Fiddle, you can be a little bit of a tough pickle to kill there once you pop that drain, once you start giving the wave the ultimate suck, and then Silver Shakes is just kind of left with the, well, do I go up and try and trade with him, but then eventually lose anyways because the drain is just draining me and healing him? Or do I just let him free push into me 24/7?
Yep, so it's going to be a lane that I'm going to need to see to understand how it's going to go. I think we're both a little curious. I'm sure everyone in chat is curious too, because it's a unique counter pick for sure. One other thing to flag is that we saw the Vel'Koz mid lane for Black Mamba last game. It was a Twisted Fate that was the answer to it then. However, this game we see a Galio, which is kind of in the same vein, you know? It's this mid laner that wants to roam, wants to use an ultimate to generate pressure elsewhere. Galio is going to be a melee champion into ranged, which gives you a bit of a disadvantage. But he does have that magic damage shield. What do you think about this lane? Do you think this has more potential to try and roam and maybe not get canceled by a Vel'Koz when you try and ult out to bot lane?
So Lunar Elix this time around is going to be a much tankier pick, like you said, compared to last game where he was on the Ashe. But, I mean, once this Galio starts getting a few levels, starts getting a few items, like this Vel'Koz is going to have a lot more trouble here for likable, because Galio, he does have that high magic resist growth, if I'm not mistaken, not to mention the magic damage shield. He has that high magic damage reduction when he pops the Idol of Durand W. So it can get hard quickly here for likable. However, though, one of the good things about Vel'Koz is you do have that insane range, and of course your passive does give you that true damage, which lets you ignore a lot, well, basically all of the magic resist that Lunar Elix will try and build up on this Galio.
Yep, so there does need to be that bit of respect, because a life form disintegration ray will is Galio a life form? He's a statue. That's a lore question. Does Galio count as a life form? Can Vel'Koz dissolve it? I'm not sure. In game, it's going to do true damage, and it's going to ignore a lot of the things that Galio tries to do to deny that Vel'Koz damage. And the other concern there, I think, just to gloss over it real quick, is that Vel'Koz has a lot of freaking wave clear. Galio has some wave clear, but he struggles to clear both the melee and caster creeps in one go, whereas Vel'Koz with 2 little Void Rifts can do it no problem, especially with that spell max. So we're going to see a mid lane where Galio can probably be stronger in an outright fight, but where the Vel'Koz with the ultimate, with the wave clear, can push it in. Top lane with the Fiddlesticks, bit of a question mark. Bot lane, we already talked about. The Lucian is an excellent lane counter to Kai'Sa. Revenant Academy going to have to play very respectful there. And the last thing to go over here is this jungle matchup of Nocturne into Trundle.
I mean, the Nocturne just going to, of course, be looking to power farm up to level 6. You kind of really want that paranoid gank. Prodark here on the Trundle, it is a little bit more of an interesting case, since you do have the Pillar to gank, but it's not always the strongest ganking tool, depending on who you're ganking, because if they have to walk around it, yeah, sure, that's a really strong tool. But if they're able to just kind of dash over it, then it can be a little worse for wear. Prodark, though, will, of course, have the early advantage in terms of ganks, because Orkra, just walking to lane and trying to fear someone, that tends to be a little harder than just walking to lane, pillaring someone, dropping the blue smite on them, and then just kind of biting them to death as a Trundle.
Well, I think that's all that really needs to be said about this draft as far as lane matchups go. I think we have a similar issue of scaling as well. Though the Lucian doesn't scale amazingly, and this Kai'Sa Lulu will have that potent late game power, there's just more damage coming out from this Vel'Koz and Fiddlesticks come the late game. And I don't know, do you see that same scaling? Is it safe to say there's a scaling advantage here? There's kind of a bit going for both teams.
You can make the argument for both teams here. Obviously, like, if we're talking about like a super late game team fight, if this Kai'Sa here for Podrick on Revenant is able to just stay safe and get peeled for, it is going to do so much damage, and I don't know if there's anyone on Black Mamba who will really be able to deal with it. However, though, I mean, Black Mamba, they certainly do have a lot of tools to try and deal with it. You have the Lifeform Disintegration Ray, which is a lot of range to try and kill an AD carry. There is, of course, the Trundle Pillar that Kai'Sa only really has the ultimate to dash over. And then there is the Fiddle Crowstorm, just hopping over, dropping the fear, dropping the silence, and then next thing you know, this Kai'Sa tends to be a bit of a Disa.
So it's all about connecting one of those key tools. That's going to be what Black Mamba is going to need to do. We're going to take a brief break as we wait for the last few seconds of spectator delay to go away. We'll be back momentarily. Do not go anywhere. There's a lot to talk about, sort of. We circled the, I don't know. I probably should have cut us early.
Probably.
Yeah, I bailed us out of there. Oh shit, okay.
Alright, I'm at 5 seconds.
Same. in League Week 5, Black Mamba Esports versus Revenant Academy. It's a 1-0 lead for Black Mamba Esports so far in this series. They're looking to close it out and clinch a playoff spot for themselves. Revenant Academy looking to stay alive in the group, going up to 3-2, a big deal for them. This is not quite a do-or-die game for them. They will still have a chance at a tiebreaker if this does not go their way. But important game for both teams, a lot on the line, and we've got some interesting picks to try and make it happen.
Because, I mean, Kaisa, we see the Lucian. Now, I mean, we've seen Kaisa a few times recently in pro play, but more so as that counter pick, as I've been mentioning. But the Lucian AD carry is something that we haven't really been seeing for quite some time. We've seen it more so in the mid lane as like a counter pick into some mages, because you're able to dash around a lot of their CC and just get up in their face. Or in that top lane, primarily as a gangplank counter, because you're very easily able to get through those barrels, and you're very easily able to just kill that gangplank over and over. Still, though, I mean, Lucian bot lane, it did get some buffs, and it will definitely show in this game, I feel, because into the Kaisa, who also has a lowish attack range for an 80 carry, only really has that pretty secret W for insane range. It's going to be a bit easier of a time for this Lucian.
Yep, we look like we have much more standard starts coming out this game. You see an actual leash going down for both junglers. A little sad after last game, set them a little slower than they'd otherwise like to be. It's a bot lane leash for Revenant Academy, a top lane leash from this top lane Fiddlesticks to get the trundle rolling. And that's going to mean that these junglers are going to be clearing in opposite directions from one another, which creates an early game imbalance. Oracra may be going to be able to try to pull off a gank in the top lane. The Fiddle is immobile, and if shoved in, can be vulnerable. Whereas the Trundle going to be looking to try and go down towards bot or mid lane to make something happen there. Aside from that, just a whole lot of farming.
That's a flash.
Yeah, that is a flash. It's a hook onto a Kingsland. The Death Sentence connecting. It's that level 2 power spike from Taken and Lil Muzi. A Kingsland going low and going to burn down to the Ignite. Lil Muzi taking the first blood, just hitting that power spike of level 2 a moment earlier and pulling the trigger on it immediately. Going to get a free 2v2 first blood. Already things off to a bad start for Revenant Academy.
I mean, a Kingsland there, he just needed to actually pay respects there. Like, press F, buddy, and use the flash. Like, come on. Because if you see that Thresh flash in, flay you, your first thought should be, all right, I have to flash out of this hook. Because if that hook lands, the Ignite's going to drop, the level 2 Lucian is going to get off multiple passive procs, going to get off the Light Slinger, going to get off the little dash into you. So, all in all, it results in a Kingsland losing both his sums as this Lulu and giving up a very crucial first blood over to this Black Mamba bot lane.
And it's one of those situations where it's easy to reactively flash because the opposing bot lane already blew a flash. So you can just trade flash for flash and say, you know what, like, screw it. I don't want any part of that. I'll take this even trade of summoner spells and get out of here instead. With a little bit of greed on that summoner, he's going to go down. And here's the top lane gank. Kino not going to do that same greed. Flashes immediately showing a Kingsland how it's done and getting out of that gank. So Oracra not able to find a kill in the top lane.
But able to find a flash onto this Fiddlesticks, who doesn't really have any mobility spells until he hits that level 6, until he gets that Crowstorm. And even then, I mean, Crowstorm, it isn't exactly the most efficient way to get away from a gank. It is very telegraphed, and there's a lot of time to interrupt it.
Yeah, I think calling Crowstorm a mobility spell is giving it a little more credit than it's due.
You call it mobility spell more out of technicality than out of practicality.
Yeah. If you're using Crowstorm to try and dodge a gank, you are in a whole lot of trouble, my friend. So, yeah, that's a big deal. It means that a further Nocturne gank in this top lane more likely to succeed if you're able to get that paranoia and show up with it. That makes Kino super vulnerable. Mid lane, lots of trading going down. Lunar Link's getting very low. The Aftershock keeping him alive, though, and Likeable just going to be able to land a couple autos, and we're going to have to walk away. This Vel'Koz is low on mana, so it's going to be hard to convert this low health bar into a kill.
Oof. Still, though, I mean, a low health bar is...
Lil Muzi Hex flashing over, but Oracra is there, and they realize that immediately, and Lil Muzi just going to walk out. It's a good time for Oracra to be walking over a ward. Unfortunate that he gets spot out, otherwise that may have been a good counter gank, but Instead, it's just a Hex Flash and a little bit of a wasted time for this Nocturne. You see Trade going down in the top lane. Silver Shakes going down onto Kino, who is flashless, so he's going to have a tough time getting out of here. He is going to go down to Silver Shakes here, except for that healing. That Fiddlestick's so healthy all of a sudden. Still not enough. It's just not going to stand up to this bear demigod. And Silver Shakes for a moment looked like it might have gotten nasty. Still going to get that solo kill.
The Frenzied Mala. It's still an execute. That big chump coming out of Silver Shakes. It's nothing to mess with. Kino gonna drop there. Gonna be kind of a big deal here since Silver Shakes, he's more than likely, I assume, gonna be going for a Triforce first on this Follow Bear. That's gonna give him a lot of damage, just be able to run down Kino, who is going to be rushing the Frozen Heart in this matchup, which certainly isn't bad. It's going to give you a lot of that armor to deal with this Follow Bear. The CDR and mana are also so clutch, since Fiddle spells, they are kind of designed for the jungle where you have a buttload of mana regen constantly thanks to jungle items.
Yep, but that kill going to set the Fiddle behind. We saw this happen last game as well, where Silver Shakes was really ahead of Kino for much of the game. Even with some jungle pressure against his favor, he was able to still pick up a couple solo kills. Did overextend and give a couple back, but that was kind of the name of the game. Little Boozy fishing for a hook, not able to connect. There's a minion that just gets in the way, denies them an opportunity to capitalize on the last few minute here where Kingsland doesn't have flash.
We'll have to see, though, because...
Well, there's a gank in the top lane. We actually see the Crow Storm used as a mobility spell, but Kino going low, and with a Stormbringer from Silver Shakes, Kino is going to go down. Horikra actually going to pick up the kill with that Q, so it's another kill going over to the side of Revenant Academy. They're just going to punish this Fiddlesticks, who has no flash, and it's working out for them. No paranoia necessary. That's a level 5 Nocturne gank, and you can bet that he'll be repeating that again as soon as he hits 6.
Still, though, I mean, at least to Kino's credit here, he was almost able to get that kill onto Oricra. Not quite able to. That is one of the things about tank Fiddlesticks. You sometimes have a bit of trouble killing some melees, even if they are fairly squishy. Lunar Lynx can deal a lot of damage in this mid lane.
Yep, it's just been trades here in the mid. No one getting dangerously low. Well, I say that, and Lunar Lynx is going down. So is Likeable. Both of them below, Likeable below 100 with a taunt. That's going to be a solo kill for Lunar Lynx with no flash available. Likeable not able to get out of that one. I think he was trying to get some distance to pull off the Lifeform Disintegration Ray, but Lunar Lynx did not give him the space. Immediately went in for the kill and picks it up.
3-1 now. This is looking a lot better here for Revenants. All their kills going towards the top side of the map. Sadly, this bot side still having quite the trouble, being down 400 gold already. That is going to be quite noticeable on this back here, since Podrick most likely going to get tier plus the pickaxe here. Whereas, Taiga actually going for the man immune on the Lucian, which certainly isn't bad in a lot of, or in certain cases, because it is technically one of the most gold efficient AD items in the game. Lucian loves the mana. He's able to stack it up very fast because he uses a lot of spells, and he tends to auto a lot thanks to his passive and thanks to his basic lane trading patterns.
Well, here comes the paranoia in the mid lane. Likeable going to get soloed out, going to go down. Now Lil Muzi is in the mid lane alone, and instead Oricra and Lunar Lynx say we don't want any part of that. They don't know where Prodark is, so they'll take their one kill and get out of there. That's just a free pickup there. A flashless Vel'Koz past the river is going to go down 10 times out of 10 to that gank, and well executed by Oricra and Lunar Lynx to make that go down. Now we see Silver Shakes trying to trade into Kino in the top lane. Oricra is here, and immediately Kino blows the flash again. It is down on cooldown. As soon as Oricra shows up, it's just blown a second time.
And Oricra has been having such a strong effect on this Nocturne, and he only just recently hit level 6. Only just recently was able to use that Paranoia, which is typically the big spell you want to get as Nocturne to get those ganks off.
Well, here comes the Volibear diving under the turret, and with the heroic entrance from Lunar Lynx, it's more like a heroic exit for Kino going down. It's answered with a dive onto the bot lane. A Kingsland going to get hit up by the Death Sentence and go down. Podrick and Silver Shake still here. They're going to keep themselves alive Silver Shake's now in a little bit of trouble, though. He is 1v3. The Kaisa kind of nearby to try to follow up on things, but it looks like Black Mamba going to land another death sentence, and with that, Silver Shakes goes down to Pro Dark, and now they're just going to clean up some plates. It is free for them. Easy dive, picking up 2 kills. Silver Shakes teleports in just to go down. Oracle, in the meanwhile, actually picks up a Herald and is going to drop it mid lane immediately, but going kind of low here. And with Likeable in the area with ultimate available, this could be trouble. Now silenced, here comes Likeable and Kino, but they're not going to go for it. They'll just kill the Herald, lose their plates, and suck it up, I guess. Meanwhile, just plates going down in the bot lane as well. So big trades happening all across the map. Lots of commitment to trying to knock down these turrets.
Thing is, so like if we look at this bot lane here, Cole, you have to keep in mind that Taigen has been consistently coming out on top. There's now 25 CS differential. These 3 assists, they're adding up. And the fact he's able to get this man immunity before Podrick means he is going to hit that spike so much sooner, since he is already stacking it that much quicker, since if you just have the tier, you can only stack with spells. However, once you upgrade to that man immune, you are able to, of course, stack it with those autos as well. Getting an early Earth Dragon will certainly help here, just getting a little bit of extra resistances, especially when you look over at Kino, who is going to be itemizing a buttload of resistances as his fiddle, and Pro Dark, who is going to be getting a lot of resistances off of that Subjugate. Bit of a whiff from that hook in the mid.
Yep, so it's trades, sort of. It's a dragon that's going to go over to Black Mamba Esports. They'll pick that up with their bot lane dominance here. It's every time they do something bot, it's something going for Revenant Academy near the top or middle of the map. So though this Lucian's very far ahead, we've got a Gallia who's got 2 kills, a Nocturne who's got 2 kills, though it is into a Trundle who's got 2 for himself. So it really is just this top lane that's totally skewed in Revenant Academy's favor. They're going to try and use that to balance out their bot lane. Here comes a Paranoia from Oracra onto Lil Muzi with the Wild Growth. That Thresh is going to go down. Teleports coming in across the map, but it's still a fight here in the middle of the lane. Tegan and Pro Dark taking Oracra low. Kino teleporting in with the Crow Storm. Lunar Link's now the one getting focused. Kino going low from all of these spells and the shields from Lulu, keeping every member of Revenant Academy high. With a Lifeform Disintegration Ray, not able to find a kill. We've just got 4 and 4 in this lane, but nothing really happening here. Everyone's gonna say, all right, 1 kill went down, but we'll back off. We'll reset. It's fine.
Thing is, though, it's like, that's a double teleport committed here from Black Mambas. Looking to top lane 2, Cole. Silver Shakes that entire time. Didn't have the teleport to join his team, so was just taking his merry own time, pushing down this top tower. That's almost 4 plates down. This is a 2-level gap. Lunar Licks, looking for the taunt.
Yeah, looking for the taunt, but when you miss with your dash and you miss with your taunt, you suddenly leave yourself quite vulnerable. A King's Land still nearby enough to keep him alive. It looked a little sketchy for a moment there when you're going into Illusion's phase. Did always have the flash to get out, though, so nothing going to come from that.
Sadly, nothing is going to come of it from Black Mamba. Kino, you have to be careful here, though. You're still 2 levels down, and I'm pretty sure this Volibear can kill you.
Yep, and Silver Shakes waits for the drain to come out before he goes in. The fear is going to knock him away, but he is on the chase. You see Pro Dark coming up, but is he going to get there in time? Because Silver Shakes is laying down the hurt. Here is the Trundle. Silver Shakes still chasing down Kino, doing so much damage with every single one of these W's, but he is going to get the kill, actually, with the flash. Likeable is there to clean it up, though. It's a 1-for-1 at the end of the day.
Quite the 1-for-1, because even though Kino was 0-3 on Fiddlesticks in that trade. Oh, Podrick.
Yep, Tegan now the one getting focused. Podrick at a Kingsland thinking about going in. They're not going to commit to the dive, though. They decide a little too risky. They'll just take their winning trade and get out of there.
Thankfully, at least they are able to get one winning trade in this bot lane here for Podrick and a Kingsland, who have been put quite far behind, statistically speaking. Almost 900 or almost 1,000 gold separating these two AD carries, and AD carries, since they are just so item reliant, they're so much more gold reliant. That's why gold differentials on AD carries always matter that much more. But here comes Oracra. He has the Paranoia. Here comes Pro Dark.
Pro Dark and Likeable. I'm not sure Revenant Academy want this. Orca procs the Paranoia. Kingsland gets hit up with the death sentence, but the heroic entrance is going to come in, knock up 2. Orca already down. A Kingsland and Xpodric have to get out of there. It's Lunar Lynx by himself, surrounded by 4 members. Xpodric gets hit up by the death sentence, gets 1 kill and goes down. A Kingsland going to fall to Likeable, and they take the fight anyway, and it's a 4-for-1 wipe in favor of Black Mamba Esports.
Ultimate in the top line from Kira, but you have to be careful here. Thankfully, Silver Shakes doesn't have that Stormbreaker up, or I believe he would have tapped that button to just go all in on this little Scarecrow. Still, though, I mean, 4-for-1 in the favor of Black Mamba. They've got to be feeling so good after that, because look where a lot of these kills went, Cole. Likeable now is sitting 3-2-2 on this Vel'Koz. That's pretty darn huge. We saw what he could do last game. 3 kills as well into Pro Dark. Sure, he's going for that tank trundle, but those tank stats are going to be put to good use here, since it's going to boost the tank stats he also steals from the enemy team. And also, he does have a mountain. And then, of course, Tygan, even though he only has 1 kill and 4 assists, Little Mosey going to find out a ghost.
Ooh, a good juke from Orca, but the Pillar's still going to follow up on it. He is in trouble, gets the fear onto Pro Dark. Now Lunar Lynx is the focus, but Lunar Lynx blows up Tegan. A Kingsland is here to back it up. Lil Mosey going to have to flash out. Pro Dark and Likeable running away now, or Likeable arriving. It's Lil Mosey running away. They go for the aggressive lay onto Orca, but the punish is there from Revenant Academy. They get a free pickup just in time for this dragon to spawn.
And what a terrible time to die here if you're Tygan, because now your team, look at their health bars. I mean, a lot of them are kind of chipped down, a lot of them missing their ultis, a lot missing some summoners, and you're having to fight a Dragon 4 versus 5 here, which is not what you want to be doing when that soul point can be huge.
Death Sentence connects onto Silver Shakes. Orca going to go in with the Paranoia. The Stormbringer is huge. It hits up 3, and it's just a wipe. Revenant Academy say, we have 1 extra person. We are not afraid of this fight, and they have no reason to be. The hook onto the Volley Bear, not what you're looking for if you're Black Mamba. They're going to lose 2. They're going to lose the Dragon, and Revenant Academy now fighting back.
And if you're Black Mamba here, I gotta question the decision-making, Cole, because you're already a man down. Just give up the Dragon. It's a singular Cloud Dragon. There will always be more later in this game. But instead, Black Mamba, they're like, do we contest? Do we not? I kind of don't want to give this up because this would put us on Soul Point. And they just kind of bite the bullet there. They lose 3 members in total. They also lose that Cloud Dragon. They also lose that mid lane outer turret. So that is a very huge boon into the pockets of Revenant Academy.
Yep, and a shutdown on Likeable as well means that we actually see the gold lead swing back to Revenant Academy's favor. They were behind. It was starting to look a little grim here and there, but with the Dragon picked up and that much gold in their pockets, they're now actually in the lead.
And it's a bit scary to be having this lead, because if Podrick is able to get ahead, able to get to his late game power spike fantasy on this Kai'Sa, as Riot likes to word it, and a lot of their Riot PSAs, it is going to be such a scary prospect, because you're going to have to kill this Kai'Sa through the Cleanse, through the Lulu, through the Galio, through a Paranoia. Like, it's not looking too good for Black Mamba. It's certainly doable here, Cole, but it's a little stacked against them in this deck.
Yep, there's scaling to be had on both teams, though, and they're not rolling over here. You see them going for the Herald, and wow, a Kingsland taking so much damage. Has to pop the Wild Growth to answer the Lifeform Disintegration. Ray? Likeable going to force him to go base anyway, though. When you take that much damage, you got to get back off the map. So it's a trade of ultimate for ultimate, but with that Lulu now going to base and a Herald taken up by Black Mamba, they're going to go mid lane. They've got a Death Sense onto Silver Shakes, and this time that bear is going to go down? Or is he? No. Yeah, no. Okay. It looked dangerous, but with a Culling hitting him, he was able to flash out of it. He does stay alive, but he has to use every tool in the book to escape. The Herald is still mid lane. It is still bonking on these turrets. The mid outer falls. The mid inner takes half its health, and Black Mamba are going to say, you know, we're okay with that. We'll take our 1 turret and get out of here. However, Revenant Academy not okay with that. Orca going in. The heroic entrance follows up on it. Likeable is in danger, going to fall down to this Volley Bear. It is an all-out brawl. Everything is going in favor of Revenant Academy, though. The health bar is in their side. Taken flashing into the backline, though. He gets 1. He gets 2. He's kiting back away from Silver Shakes. He gets 3. He's going to get Orca if he doesn't die from the fear, and he gets the quadra kill to clean up the fight. They just weren't able to finish him off. and suddenly Black Mamba back in the driver's seat.
Black Mamba is a back Mamba right now, Cole. Tygan absolutely popping off in that team fight, because this entire game he only really had one kill, was racking this assist, but relatively untouched in that team fight. We saw Orkra and Lunar Licks and Silver Shakes all try and dive in the back, but that was primarily onto Likeable. Who was onto Tygan? Basically no one. Next thing you know, there's a Lucian free firing onto your backline. Takes out Podrick, able to take out even more, and the only reason a King's Land was able to get away is because he was already running away prior to that Lucian dashing in and then having to deal with another 2 members on his tail.
It's a really interesting fight, Go for Reno. Revenant Academy said that they wanted it. They're the ones that engaged it, but they didn't really find the immediate picks that they were looking for. That Galley ultimate didn't actually knock up anyone. Orkra dives onto a Vel'Koz with stopwatch and isn't able to kill Likeable quickly enough. And when that happens, you just take a little too much time going for your pick, and that means that Tegan able to lay down the hurt. The sustained damage from this Lucian actually coming up huge. He doesn't even have the Mermana online yet, but because they spend so much time trying to get Likeable, it leaves that threat up, and it spells disaster. They're going to lose an inhibitor turret and all of the pressure they had, and Black Mamba back in the gold lead here.
Still, though, I mean, it's not a substantial gold lead, all things considered. It's not even 2,000 gold separating these two teams, and we're past the 21-minute mark. I think where we're going to really start to see this gold lead blossom is if there is a team fight around this up-and-coming Cloud Dragon in about roughly half a minute here, Cole.
Yep, this Cloud Dragon, not do or die for either team. However, it is still an important objective. If you're Revenant Academy, you do not want to give it away, so you're going to use the Paranoia to get onto Tegan. We've learned our lesson from the last fight. This Lucian matters more, so we're going to take him down. And now that he's out of there, little Muzi is gone right after, and it's a perfect time to get those 2 picks, because look what's spawning.
And there's nothing the bot lane could do there. It's like, you're just kind of farming mid 1 second, and next thing you know, Paranoia into the hero's entrance. Next thing you know, there's also a Volibear just kind of knocking at your door, and you're just like, well, this is fun and interactive as an AD carry. I will promptly die. Promptly die, he does.
Yeah, it's good play by Revenant Academy to utilize this combo. The Nocturne has really reliable way to get on top of a target, and then when you follow it up with that heroic entrance, it's going to be a kill almost every time. If summoners aren't available, it will be a kill every time, and really well-played, proactive effort from Revenant Academy. They say, with this objective spawning, we're going to need to get picks. We know that this Lucian is a priority after what he did to us in this last fight, and they pull it off perfectly.
One thing I am curious about, though, here is that is Tygan maybe potentially going to get a Knight's Edge later on in this game, because there aren't many spells that are really going to poke it out here unless you take a random Priest Seeker from Podrick. So it might actually be kind of clutch, since it does heavily deny the Nocturne ulti. He won't get free vision of you, and that can make or break a team fight. Orkra has to be careful here, taking a decent chunk of poke.
Kind of nay-ramming it here, Go for Reno. We're just going to walk at this inhibitor and hope for the best. You know that the Galio heroic entrance isn't available if you're keeping track of your cooldown, so you don't have a super reliable engage to fear, but here comes the Volibear with the Stormbringer. Here comes the Paranoia. Tegan going to get out of the fight with barely any health. Going to go down from a dive from Podrick. He's going to pay with it with his life. However, Silver Six still in the backline doing the work, forcing Likeable out. Now going down towards Prodark and Lil Muzi, just trying to tank it up. It's a 2-for-2 so far, but with the King's Land out of position, he's going to go down with a death sentence onto Lunar Lynx. He is going to fall right after. It's just as Volibear left alive, and he is running for the hills. He does not want to take this 1v3. He thinks he does, though, and with a death sentence connecting, he flashes onto Likeable, gets that kill. Silver Shakes just 1v3ing this fight. Lil Muzi stuck inside the enemy base. There's no way he gets out of this one. So at the end of the day, it's a 4-for-4. Silver Shakes cleaning up that fight to make sure it's not a total disaster, but Black Mamba Esports do get the inhibitor before that fight breaks out.
One thing to keep your eyes out, though, here for is this Baron going to be started? Prodark very wisely grabbing that Scuttle Crab there for that free vision that cannot be denied. Podrick and Oric are already hovering towards here. They do have the man advantage still, but doesn't look like it will be the call. With how short some of these death timers are, Likeable does have the teleport if he needs to, and don't want to be doing that. But going back to that fight we did see before that inhib here, Cole, Tygan had a lot dropped on him. Like, we even saw Podrick just hop into the back line with that Kaisa ultimate, the killer instinct, to finish him off, but that kind of leaves your main DPS stealer all alone in the backline away from your peel. Sure, you take out Tygan, but what about Likeable? He was able to drop the fattest life form disintegration ray in that fight, and it melted literally everyone.
Yeah, and when you're able to get that much damage, the fight is going to go well. I think the interesting thing is that fight really didn't go all that well for Revenant Academy. I think many of the things that they rely on did not connect in the way they'd hope that they would, and still it ends up being a 4-for-4, so they have to be relatively confident with their team fighting. It looks like Black Mamba going to push into this turret. We see a flank teleport from the Volibear. Orica looking for the Paranoia, dives in onto Likeable, the heroic entrance chaining with it again. The Zanyas is going to answer. Silver Shakes onto Tegan. Likeable is going to fall to the Killer Instinct, and it's going to be trade of kills here and there. Podrick's still alive, Tegan's still alive, Kino healing for so much, and Podrick goes down to a death sentence, and Kingsley is not going to be getting out of that one. He's a singular Lulu, and that's going to be an ace in favor of Black Mamba Esports with the inhibitor down and the waves already pushing in. Go for Reno just like that. That's game.
And what a game it was. The first game would have not led you to believe that this one would be so close, but even as we are getting into the final moments of this game, it's only a 3,000 goal difference between these two teams to show how back and forth it was, Cole. Ultimately, in the end, Black Mamba Esports are able to secure out a 2-0 victory, but it was a very hard-fought 2-0 in the end.
Yeah, it was some one-team fights from Revenant Academy. That one, they're not quite able to get the job done. Podrick on the Kaisa goes in to lay down the damage, but spends so much time hitting that super tanky Fiddlesticks. Azanya's from Likeable once again buying so much time, and Tegan does not fall for the second team fight in a row, and that means that Black Mamba Esports win the team fight. They're able to close it out, and that means that they have clinched entrance into the Divine League playoffs.
And 4-0, like, that is one hell of a score line to be going into the final week. I believe after this is, well, I believe the next week after this is going to be the final week, but you're already guaranteed that spot to go up towards this playoffs, and it'll give your players a nice little bit of a break if they do so, please. But if they've been looking this dominant so far, maybe they don't really need a break since they've been trouncing the competition so easily, it would seem.
Yep, I think there's still a lot of things to learn from that game. It was close. There were plenty of mistakes to learn from. Some fights that did go Revenant Academy's way. I think there's lots to be gained for both of these teams. Revenant Academy still not out of it. If they're able to pick up a win next week, they can force a draw with SB Mirage, where they will have to play a tiebreaker match, or it will just go to tiebreakers. I'm not clear on the Divine rules, but that's in the cards for them. They're not out of it yet. They've got that little slimmer of hope left. Anything else that you think needs to be said here?
I mean, props to Revenant, at least, for that game number 2. They made it certainly seem a lot closer than how it kind of felt at that last team fight we saw, because, I mean, Black Mamba Esports, sure, they're now 4-0, but you have to keep in mind that game, like, some cracks in the armor were showing, so to speak, and maybe this Revenant Academy roster, maybe they're just ramping up a little here, Cole. Who knows? But we still have another week of play to watch.
Yep. Well, in any case, I have been Coleslaw. Joining me has been Goferino on the cast. Our producer has been Mowgli the Cat. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you to Risen for allowing us to cast Divine League tonight. And we'll see you all next time. Have a great night.